Mining Weekly Online is talking to Abel Malinga, the Divisional Executive for Mining and Metal Industries of the Industrial Development Corporation, a state-owned entity that assists with mining investment. Abel, how can the South African mining industry be assisted for the benefit of the economy?
That's a very important question that you've asked, Martin. But firstly, we need to look at what is the current state of the mining industry. The mining industry is facing quite a number of challenges at the moment, which are not probably related to the commodity cycle, but many other factors. So I think the first important aspect that we need to resolve as a country, it's really the industrial relations. The relationship between the private sector, government, labor union, in making sure that these three stakeholders work together. Currently, our relationship is very confrontational, which is not really helping us to improve the productivity within the mining sector. So we need a workforce that is engaged, that is properly trained and skilled. So that's one aspect that we need to resolve. Because that will help us in making sure that we improve the competitiveness of the industry. Secondly, we need to start investing more in R&D. Currently, we have, as a country, vast resources. Vast resources. If I may, to sort of use the example of the manganese, in terms of resource, we have 75% of non-resource, and the world have 25% thereof. But in certain commodities, those resources are declining. Not necessarily because there's nothing in the ground, mainly because the technology that we are currently using will not enable us to mine those resources economically into the future. So as a country, we have been investing very little in terms of research and development, whether it's on the processing side or even in exploration. So the second point is really for the country to start investing in research and development. That will also help us in terms of boosting the competitiveness of the industry. Yes, we may have another session where we bring labor, government, the private sector to resolve some of their differences and work together. But also we need to make sure that we continue to be abreast in terms of what is required technological-wise to be able to extract and beneficiate some of these resources much more competitively. In the past, our main focus was more on energy-intensive kind of beneficiation. Even the word beneficiation, we need to expand it so that it involves much more than just the processing aspect. Because with the beauty with mining industries, with especially South African mining industry, it has linkages with other sectors of the economy. The multiplier effect of a mining investment goes far beyond than just the direct mining activity. It supports the chemical industry, it supports machinery and equipment, it also supports other value chain in the economy. So if we were to grow the economy, if I were to use an example, if every year as a country we can open up 2 underground size mine, which will enable us to employ at least, because on average an underground operation will employ about 2,500 direct jobs. That will lift us in terms of the current economic growth that we're currently experiencing, which is hovering around 1%. we say the country has a challenge of unemployment, but also poverty. I think the other problem that we may add to the two problems that we have is the slow growth in the economy, because the slow growth in the economy does not help us in terms of making sure that we create the necessary activity that will enable us to create more jobs, generate more revenue, so that we can export most of our commodities, so that we can balance our books as a country. So that is very, very important. The mining industry can give us that.
And so you have sketched the importance of the mining industry to the national economy, how it can leverage growth in other areas. But you've pointed to the need for competitiveness and research and development. Have we started doing this R&D? Is the Pakisa that we set off, is it in motion? I mean, are we doing better with Comro? Is something happening? Do you see something on the horizon which will give meaning to your pleas now for greater competitiveness, greater research and development, and in our South African context, can we ensure that this research and development and this new mining method that comes through can be people-centered?
Okay. Before we talk about the mining Pakisa, I think I also need to bring two other points which are very important to enable us to attract more investment to the mining space. I think we need to eliminate, at the moment I will call it perceived, because depending on who you speak to, we need to eliminate the perceived uncertainty in terms of the policy environment by improving the policy and regulation in the mining environment value chain. So we need to look at the mining industry as a value chain. Then secondly, we need to make sure that our administrative processes are more efficient in terms of administering those laws. And also some alignment between the different government departments in terms of coordinating what is required from the entrepreneur or the mining companies when they need to establish a mining project. Because a mining project, it's not only DMR who deals with the licensing. You need to have a water license. You need to be environmentally compliant. So these are some of the issues that we need to address. If we can address that, that will boost the confidence, the investor confidence in the mining industry. It's very critical for us to attract more investment into the space. Coming to the research and development, it's not just about the mining package, but I will tell you what we have been doing as IDC in terms of making sure that we need to support technologies that will enable us to beneficiate the current resource that we have much more effectively, but more importantly, in a manner that is environmentally friendly. We have identified what is currently constraining us in terms of beneficiation. As a result of that, we are trying to support technologies that are less energy intensive. For example, in the platinum sector, currently the smelting process, it's more pyrometallurgy type process, which we need a lot of heat, which uses a lot of energy. We are currently working with a company that is currently developing. We've finished the bankable feasibility study. We will soon probably be establishing a pilot plant on a technology that will enable us, which is hydrometallurgy, that will use less energy, but also which is environmentally friendly in terms of emissions, but also which will enable us to extract as much as possible of our PGMs from the concentrate that we are sending to the different smelters. What will that do? It's not sensitive to the chrome content that some of the current technologies are sensitive to. Hear that the smelter is blown up and so forth and so forth. With this technology, we will avoid that. And secondly, we will be able to use less energy. And thirdly, if you improve your yields, that means your cutoff grade will then be much, much lower, which will then extend the life of the mine. So these are some of the technologies that we are using. Secondly, the second technology that we are trying to promote as IDC, we're working with a company that is using fine to produce what we call super scrap, where you can use that to substitute your usual metallic scrap that is currently so scarce and which is currently exported to various parts of the world, leaving our electrical arc furnaces who uses scrap with not sufficient material to be able to process ferrous scrap metal. What we are trying to do is to have a product that will substitute, or that you can use as a substitute for scrap. What will that do? It will give the electrical arc furnaces consistent, cheaper material, which will lower the cost of steel making in South Africa, which is excellent. On the ferrochrome side, we are working with a company that is using a technology that preheats the chrome before you introduce it to your electrical furnace. What that preheating, because the preheating, you use the off gas to heat the material. When it gets to the furnace, it's already hot. So again, you use less energy. So what we're trying to drive is an industry that is very competitive.
Would that beat the Primus technology?
Definitely. In terms of energy, it will use between 25 and 45% less energy. So when you use less energy, that means you can produce your product much, much cheaper than the Primus technology, which will make us competitive as a country, which is what we need. Even on the mining side, you look at ourselves and Australia. Australia can produce the iron ore much more cheaper than us. So we need to be competitive as a country, because in terms of the market, we are price takers. So we need to make sure that we work on our cost structure so that we are competitive, because we compete with other commodity producing countries. So we need to be always one step ahead. So that will help us immensely in terms of improving the competitiveness of the industry. But what is our vision for the mining industry? When we develop a mine in a village, for example, in terms of the investment concept that we come up with, together with our partners, because we always work in partnership. Our core competency, it's on the funding. We will not be operating the mine and so forth and so forth. So our vision is that we need to establish a mine that will have an impact in the economy, or let me put it this way, it must have an impact on the community where it's located. A mine that will be part of the community. a mine that will assist the town or the village to develop an economy that will outlive the life of the mine. So what will that require? We need to synchronize the investment that we make in that mining project with other investments. So when we say we want to build a mine, so the local planning department of the local, whether it's district, municipality, or the metro, it must also talk to the regional economic development plan, which will then, in a dotted line, feed to the national planning. If we can synchronize all these investments in a manner that we use the investment in the mine project to kickstart the economic activity of that town, but we don't solely rely on the economic activity that will be generated as a result of this mine. The activities should be such that those will continue even after we have closed down, rehabilitated the mine, and the mine is no longer there. That has happened in other towns, but by coincidence. So what we now need to do is a synchronized planning of these investments. If we can do that as a country, I think we will avoid ghost town that we have seen in Virginia and many other the so-called what we used to call mine towns. I think in Benoni it also used to be a mining town, but that only happens coincidentally, that even the mines are no longer there, but there's still an economy that will sustain Benoni. We always use this example of Richards Bay. When we got involved with RBM long time ago, that used to be almost like a fishing village. When you go there today, it's a town that has an economy of its own. That's the vision of the mining industry that we want to support as IDC.
That was Creamer Media's Mining Weekly Online, talking to Abel Malinga, the Divisional Executive for Mining and Metals Industries of the Industrial Development Corporation.